Daryl Ruiter's our Browns beat reporter. And he's brought to us by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. And he joins us right now from Berea.
Daryl!
What's up, buddy?
Hi, Daryl.
Hello, boys.
How are you?
How are we? I'm good. How are you?
Dillon Gabriel, smart guy. Every story lasts about 2 days, then you're rolling.
Yeah.
The guy gets it. Now I want to see if, as Andy and I, we know you're not a big fan. Andy and I have said so far through 3 starts, we kind of think, And I'm waiting for the game that makes us think either, yep, this guy can play, or no, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, I'd like to see him throw it more than 10 yards down the field, honestly. But that's pretty much what we've seen the first 3 games from him. Now, granted, last week was smart, weather-related. No need to do that. But, yeah, I mean, look, at some point I like to see this offense opened up so that we can see whether or not he can do it or not, right? And I realize you're trying to win some games here, and that's a tough balance. But if you're honestly going to get a true evaluation of him as a quarterback, it's easy to open it up in practice, okay? They're not tackling. You're protecting teammates and things like that. So, yeah, it's easy for everything to look great in practice. But practice don't matter to me. I'm not interested in practice. I'm interested in what you're able to do in games that matter and that count. And I just have been very underwhelmed by what I've seen from him. He's doing the basics. Okay. Well, can you do more than just the basics?
Daryl,
that's what we're hoping to see.
Listen, if you don't think, let's get another record. You don't think Dillon Gabriel's the man? True or false?
No.
Okay.
No, I think he's a backup quarterback at best, and he's going to have a very long, successful career doing that.
Okay. Is Shedeur Sanders the man? Should Shedeur be starting right now?
No, because we don't have a true evaluation of Dillon. And once you get that, look, I think Shedeur is going to start at some point after the bye week, and they'll get the opportunity to finish out the season. What week that ultimately ends up being, your guess is as good as mine. But I think that Shedeur will get no less than 4 starts and possibly more than that. But to be fair to Dillon, just because I think he's a backup quarterback at best, obviously that doesn't square with what the Browns think. And the Browns need a true, their own true, honest view and evaluation of him. So, you're committed to the bit, so he needs to start a couple of more games because I don't think organizationally, if you can make a evaluation as to whether or not he can be a franchise quarterback just based solely on 3 starts where he has been asked to do the very bare minimum.
Daryl Ruiter's joining us. So you get the Patriots, who have won 4 straight games. Daryl, one of their opponents really good. 3 of their opponents, games they probably should have won. Mm-hmm. Can the Browns take something out of what happened last week against Miami and maybe catapult into something more, or do you think they just beat a bad team?
Well, I think they beat a bad team, but you got to start somewhere, right? They beat a good team in Green Bay, so but you do have to start somewhere. And what I liked about Sunday's game is they handled their business. They did what they should do. That is curb stomp. Just an awful, discombobulated team. And for all those calling for Kevin's job and things like that, I think you saw 2 very different organizations. Kevin ripped them a new one a week ago Monday, and his team responded by creating 4 turnovers and scoring the most points they had since early December of last year in a game, right? Turned 4 of those turnovers into 21 points. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ledger, right, same 1-5 Dolphin team with Mike McDaniel, they look like a team that wanted to be anywhere but Cleveland on Sunday. So, you tell me which coach deserves to be fired.
Unless you have another plan in place. Like Miami might have some other plan that we don't No, but I look at that from that scenario. How do they
Yeah,
step?
but I don't think their plan's much more different than the Browns, other than they've committed. They've obviously committed a lot of resources to Tua down there, but same thing, right? I mean, both of these teams would like to have a nice draft.
Are they ready to?
Next April.
Yeah, or maybe they use those resources on the next quarterback too. So.
Well, yeah, but it's not like you have two organizations with two completely different plans. I think that they're looking to do the same thing, quite honestly, right?
I hear you. What are you doing with wide receiver? How do we get a little more oomph out of the wide receiver position?
You got to have a quarterback that's willing to throw the ball more than 10 yards downfield.
Or a coach that's willing to call those plays?
Who's to say those plays aren't being called and the quarterback isn't reading them right? Because I'll tell you this, there were at least 3 plays I saw on Sunday where I'm sitting there and Andy was sitting right next to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, he's wide open, and there's no throw. Because Dillon couldn't see what was going on. So,
or Dillon was looking for the first receiver that the coach wanted him to throw to. That's fair too. Right. I mean, look, I know to us when we're sitting in the press box, it's clear as day. Like, I totally agree with you. We're like, how did he not see that? But if maybe he was waiting for something else to happen because the coach was in his head and said, let's do this. And by the way, you're probably going to keep your job if you don't throw interceptions.
Yep. And so, you got to get Jerry Jeudy interested.
Well, he's got to hang on to the ball first, right?
Yeah, I know. But too, you got to, I think that the focus and the attention to details there when you're interested. And I'm not saying he's not.
Dude, he's a professional football player, though. I mean, he better be interested in every play, right?
But
gets paid a lot of money to be interested.
I know, but that's not how athletes work mentally.
That's human nature. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, it's human nature. When the ball isn't going your way, when you're not getting opportunities to make explosive plays down the field on a consistent basis, and I stress on a consistent basis. Yeah, you get a little bit, it's human nature to where you lose a little focus. And I'm not trying to say that that's what's happening with Jerry, but I'm making an educated guess that that's what's happening with Jerry right now is that, last year they got the ball to him and look what happened. He had a career year. This year, it's been inconsistent stretching the field. I mean, he said on a couple occasions, hey, maybe this is the week we can take some shots down the field. And they haven't been taking shots down the field. So, you're spending your whole afternoon, and look, I understand that's what he's paid to do. You're spending your whole afternoon running these routes and trying to create separation in the secondary, and your quarterback can't see when you're open. Your frustration builds. Now, when the ball does come your way, you're not fully focus there. And it's understandable. It's not, certainly not making excuses, for it, but I think that's part of the equation. But yeah, start taking some shots down the field. Let's see what these receivers can or can't do. I lean more toward, just like with Dillon, the can't do part, but don't know it unless you see it. And again, I think it's important to let Dillon let it rip. And if he throws some picks, he throws some picks. But you got to evaluate it. You can't. And you heard Kevin earlier today where he's like, well, there's a fine line between being conservative and, being smart and things like that. Yeah, you don't have to be conservative to still be smart with the ball and where you're throwing it. So, I think that's what's got to happen, Jeff, is you got to give these receivers some opportunities to make some plays down the field so you can figure out whether or not they can do it in the first place. Because right now we're sitting here saying they can't do it, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with that room.
Daryl Ruiter is joining us, our Browns beat reporter. I said something earlier in the show. Chad Ruiter, who writes for NFL.com, no relation, it's different spelling, puts out his draft update, draft order and everything else. And he's the second national guy that I've seen say this in the last week or so, Daryl. And he has the Browns, they're sitting 6th right now in the draft order. And he lists the 5 biggest needs for every team as part of this. And he had, in order, offensive tackle, interior offensive line, wide receiver, corner, and edge. Did not have quarterback. And I thought, What am I missing here? What are we missing here?
That is someone who doesn't cover the team and doesn't actually know what's going on here. And that's no disrespect to him, but I do agree. Offensive line, tackle and interior, absolutely. Wide receiver, absolutely.
Yeah.
Edge, no. They got a couple of guys. You got Alex Wright, Isaiah McGuire. You look at there. You don't need a corner. You just traded for a corner who's going to be here for a few more years. Denzel Ward is here for a few more years. Now, I'm certainly not spending a high pick on another corner. So, like that's just what it is. Like, he's just looking at a roster on paper and not really understanding what's going on here. Quarterback is the number one need here. It has been the number one need since 1999. So, with all due respect to that, like that's what I make of it. It's just a national guy who's spitting out some content that without a true understanding of where this particular franchise is. Because if you had that, you aren't putting cornerback as a need because they just traded for Tyson Campbell, who has been phenomenal and is under contract through 2028. And, they got some young edge rushers that they're going to have to make some contract decisions on too.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time.
You bet, guys.
Daryl Ruiter, our Browns beat reporter, joining us from Berea, and he's brought to us by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.